Hello everyone, welcome back to another Nourish to Flourish segment. It is yours truly, Megan the Trainer, registered dietitian, and I am going to have some practical protein solutions for you today. I think we all know that protein is very important. It's an important macronutrient. It helps with maintaining our muscle mass. All of those amino acids have a bunch of different functions in our body, including like neurotransmitters and brain health, and it can help with hunger and fullness. So if anybody has goals of weight loss and weight management, hitting your protein or getting a little bit more protein can help you in those endeavors. But here's the deal. I think it's easy for us to punch in a calculator and get, our protein goals spit out at us at the end. And then it's even easier to divide that by however many times you eat during the day, so that way you know about how much you need to average when you sit down for a meal. Most of the clients that I work with, we're usually seeing somewhere between 25 to 30 grams of protein per eating opportunity, if you will.
Okay.
What does that actually look like? Because I think we all know what our protein foods are. Our meats, our dairy products, we have some plant-based proteins, but I'm gonna add a little caveat to that because I'm gonna talk about protein anchors versus protein add-ons, okay? Because if you want to meet your protein goals, of course, we have a certain gram amount that we need to meet. But some of you out there also might have a calorie goal that you want to stick within. And you don't want your meals going crazy over on your calories while you're trying to meet just your protein needs. And I'll explain a little bit more of what I mean by this in just a moment. So the anchors, the things that I want you to base around your plate. So this is going to be kind of the main foundation here. This is where we've got things like eggs, turkey, chicken, ham, beef, pork, whatever you want it to be. That is going to be more of the meat product, is going to be more of an anchor. We could also include like tuna, any kind of fish, whether it's like salmon or even like lobster and shrimp. Those kinds of things are also going to be included. Yogurt, cottage cheese, and even this is where like some supplements can kind of fit in. Now, of course, I subscribe to a food first approach, but at the same time, I think supplements can be really helpful to supplement what we're already doing. And now from a plant-based perspective, the only kind of complete protein that's going to get us all of our amino acids is going to be coming from soy products. So things like tofu or tempeh, which is a fermented soy product. But now here's where the kick kind of comes into play. The add-ons. This is where I would classify like beans, hummus, nuts, seeds, even like a high hearty kind of bread, like Dave's Killer Bread or Ezekiel bread, something like that. Those I would include as more add-ons, where I wouldn't want you trying to meet your protein needs or protein goals from these foods specifically, because this is where they're going to have either a lot more volume, like beans, for example, are going to get you a lot more carbohydrates and a lot of fiber in your efforts of trying to get to your protein. So we need to prioritize those anchors, and we can use those add-ons to help a little bit. So here's how I'm gonna kind of spin some of this stuff, okay? So instead of doing, just an avocado toast where you've got a slice of toast, an egg, maybe half of an avocado, that's gonna get you only about like one egg has about 7 grams of protein. Here, I've got some visuals with us today. Brought some things with. So a carton of eggs, 1 egg, 6 grams of protein. So again, if you wanted to get your 30 grams of protein, you need to eat about 5 of these bad boys. So this is where using things like egg whites can help. So you could do 2 eggs plus a half a cup of egg whites, and then have that high protein toast to get you a little bit closer to that 30 instead of having to eat 5 whole eggs. So this is how we can kind of mix and match some of these things without it feeling so overwhelming. Something else that you could do is you could take some yogurt and you could mix it with a little bit of protein powder. If you wanted to get 30 grams of protein coming from Greek yogurt, you would need to eat, 2/3 of a cup gets you about 17 grams. So you need about 1.5 cups of yogurt, which if you scoop that out and put it into a bowl, that's quite a bit. Same kind of thing goes for cottage cheese. And I know my stomach is not big enough to handle all of that. So this is where you could mix, again, some yogurt with a scoop of protein powder. So that way it's not so volume heavy. Now again, if we look back at something like beans, for example. So in this can, we've got about 3.5 servings per container, 7 grams of protein. That means that you're gonna need to eat at least this whole can to just meet your protein needs. And then that's gonna be about 400 calories just coming from this. And now here's probably the biggest misconception that I do want to address, is that, again, protein coming from nuts and seeds. This container here is a little container that I got when I went to Fancy, which is a nutrition conference. And this is coming from the California almonds. So this size like a little Altoids mint container almost, has about 1 serving of almonds, which is about 23 almonds in here. Now in 1 serving, we've got, let's see here, where is it? 6 grams of protein. So this is the equivalent to 1 egg. But this is also going to be about 160 calories because again, our nuts are going to be a little bit more calorically dense because of the higher fat. It's good, healthy fat, but again, from a protein perspective, this would not be an anchor. This would be an add-on. So you could mix this into some kind of a trail mix or have on the side with some turkey jerky or Baby Bell cheese or string cheese or something like that. So when it comes to meeting your protein needs, it's important to know how much you need. It's important to know your food sources, but it's also important to know what that is going to look like on a plate and if that is going to be realistic, and then how can we mix and match some of those things to put them together. If you need more help and more guidance on something like that, please let me know and I'm happy to help you and to kind of piece some of those things together for you to help streamline you in your protein goals. So now that you know better, let's go ahead and do better so we can all be better.